6 o'clock, call the board meeting to order. Please rise and join in the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
All right. Leah Legal.
Here.
Chris Ravish here. Bonnie Holstein.
Here.
Paul Gruborchik is here. Katie Gruborchik.
Here.
And Gary Yarros says excused.
Yep.
And Brad Duke, present.
All right, well, we can start right off. Hopefully everybody's staying warm or trying to stay warm. We'll move quickly because Hunter's got a very informative presentation. So, is there any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda? Any motion?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any community comments on the agenda? Okay. Ready to start the spotlight.
All right, I have the privilege of giving out tonight's Spartan Spotlight. So tonight's Spartan Spotlight honors a woman who has served her school and community for many years with grace and compassion. She leads selflessly, puts others first, and makes a lasting impact through her unwavering dedication to our students. Her actions uplift others and reflect the very best of who we strive to be. She leads our students and staff by the example of how she lives her life. Shows up quietly and consistently, often without recognition and never for praise. In moments that are big and small, she is rooted in care and has a presence that anyone would be lucky to be a part of. Because of her, students feel seen, supported, and valued. Pam Nowski is the best of us, and I am beyond fortunate to be a part of her life, and it is a privilege to award her with the Spartan
Thank you so much. Thank you. It truly is an honor to receive this. It's wonderful working here with the students and staff, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right on the communication. Senator Walter.
Thank you, President Doobie. I attended the Superintendent's Midwinter Summit last week, and here are some of the bits of information that I took from that. We first heard from the new state superintendent, which I served with him on the MASA board of directors last year, so I know him. I think he's a great fit and look forward to him doing some great things at that position. We heard from Joe Sanfilippo, who is a superintendent, former superintendent, who now does the speaking tour. And he talked about leadership, and a quote that stuck with me was, "Every interaction matters because every interaction could be the one they talk about for the next 25 years. So he talked about how some people have bad experiences, and because of one little conversation that you wouldn't even think is a big deal. So just to keep that in our minds, that that same thing could come back 25 years later. His district did do some really cool things that I would like to steal his ideas. That's why we go to those conferences, to get good ideas. One thing that he did was to retain staff. They have the backdrop, which we've been wanting to get, where like when students sign for college things and they have the flags. Anybody that's a new staff member, they get to like sign their contract in front of it, and then their family gets the picture. So just a cool little thing like that that I like that idea. I attended a MASB session on negotiating contracts, since we will be negotiating this spring with teachers. There was a legal update. This one was hard to take for many reasons, but the first thing that stood out was that the person who talked to us said if people ask you or talk to you about how we could get more of the money from the state, higher ed took $1.3 billion of our school aid fund this year. 1.3 billion, and that is initially for K through 12 school. And a few years ago, I don't know if it was 10 or how long ago, they took a little bit of the money and gave it to higher ed, and it just continued with more and more and more. That's a lot of money that goes to, which is awesome. We love our universities, and that's, you know, we know that that's a great thing for our students to be able to go to, but they can raise tuition whenever they want, and we can't. So that's something that the superintendents are really looking at and trying to persuade the legislators to please give us some of that money back. The 31AA update that we have talked about, that was the not accepting that money so that we could keep our government privileges. Around 75% of public schools opted out of this grant. In the Court of Claims may hear the argument in February or March. We were talking at the last meeting about when that was going to happen, and now they're thinking it could be February or March when that happens. And they said, we really don't know, you know, what would happen from there. But just to keep our ears open for that. On the legislative front, there's a cell phone bill that passed the House last week. They expect it to go through the Senate pretty quickly and the governor to sign it very quickly as well. I don't think it will affect us much because we've done that already this year with the no cell phones in class. Dr. Braun makes that very evident in the high school, middle school every morning, and I think teachers appreciate it and students know that they should not have them. So it shouldn't affect us, but just in case you hear that, that's something that's going through pretty quickly. I went to a session on people-driven school design, and that had to do with passing bonds and updating your facilities and what Mona Shore's district does for that. And that it was a big push on partnering with the community for a successful bond. So I've got some good ideas for that. Went to one on leadership in the AI era. Many districts have AI tools for staff because they can help in so many different ways. It's something that I'm going to look at, maybe talk to our staff about to see if there's a program that they would like. I know I have a friend and former AD here at Pinconning who was the middle school principal at Freeland, and they this year purchased an AI tool for all staff to use to help and give good ideas, and there's just some really good things that you can do with it. Went to SETSAG risk management. I think I may have given you some of this info from the summer summit that I went to, but it was good hearing it again. They talked about avoiding the email catfishing by not opening links or attachments on suspicious emails. So it was clear you can open, I think sometimes people even get worried about opening an email, and you can open the email, you just can't click on that link or attachment if it looks suspicious or you know, we don't want to get ourselves in one of those situations where somebody gets into our system. Slip and fall claims have been the #1 claim for many, many years, and last year was the first year it was overtaken by combative students, and this is the elementary students who are injuring their paras and their support staff, even teachers. So that's something that is a problem throughout the state. And I did mention this in the summer as well, and it's still a concern of mine that the vans that are used for student transportation, our parents, and we have to work on the communication thing, that they need to know that the parents' insurance are what covers them if there's ever an accident while they're in our vans. It is not our insurance. And why they brought this up is a couple years ago, families could choose to opt out of the PIP, the PIP, and that greatly reduces what they would get if there was an accident in one of our vehicles. So the reason they brought it up was the bad accident from the Charlevoix golf team last year. And there were some students that their families opted out of the PIP coverage and some that didn't. And those that opted out their like maximum was $250,000 that the student could get, and they needed way more than that because of the severity of the injury. So they had to do GoFundMe's, and it just was very messy. So MHSAA is working on communication for parents so they know about their insurance, because they said many times when there's an accident, parents get very angry because they're at the hospital, and the first thing the hospital was asking is, we need to see your auto insurance. And they're like, it wasn't us, it was in a school van, and it doesn't matter. So I want to make sure that word is out there. And then MEG is something you may start hearing, the Michigan Education Guarantee. They are looking at replacing the Michigan Merit curriculum with the MEG. And it will provide more flexibility, more opportunities for students. It will align with the 21st century skills that are needed, while still having the rigor that our Michigan Merit curriculum has. So that was a pretty big push from MASA, and they wanted us to be on board with that when we see it start coming through. And I think that's a good thing. At our last meeting, we talked about board books. I think Mr. Yaros is the one, since he is on the ISD Board of Education, that they use board books for their packets. And that is something I started getting some information, how it helps the board. There's no printing or delivery needed. It automatically goes to you as soon as it's done with Lydia. And you can search, you can go back if you ever, and I think Ms. Gorchak had that question of, when there's something that we knew we talked about but don't remember when, you could search and it would pull it right up. A lot of good things that would be helpful to you. There is a cost and that's what I want to, that's my next step, is to look, because I know there are a few different programs. Essexville, Bangor, and Bay City all use the electronic board notes that we're talking about, and I just want to see the different things that are out there and the costs. I think it's around $3,000 a year to do that. So I'll get you more information on that, but I at least want to give you an update on that. Wanted to thank the Booster Club, the Athletic Booster Club. Congratulate them on a very successful fundraiser last weekend, the 80s night at the Cheese House. Our Booster Club does an amazing job and works very hard for our student athletes, and that was very evident last Saturday night at the fun event that we had for our community. It was very cool, and 2 of our board members are very important to that Booster Club, so we thank you for all of that.
It looked like a good turnout.
It was great, yeah, it was very fun. The trades union meeting will be here on February 5th, and what that is, I was invited this fall to the trade union, kind of like a management meeting in Saginaw, where all of the different trades have their union head chief, I guess, and they were all there. And we talked about things, and I invited them to have their meeting here one day so they could see our facilities and the great things our students are doing. And they accepted, and they're going to be here on February 5th. They'll have their meeting, privately, and then after that they'll do a tour, and it's pretty cool to have them here for that, to see the great things our students are doing. And finally, the Northern Bay County Fund info. March 7th is the trivia night, the winter trivia. And we always have a great showing at that with board members. So if you're interested, want more information, you can let me know. But also the Northern Bay County Fund grant cycle is now open, and that's open until March 2nd. And any nonprofit or school person within the school district can apply for that grant money. Any questions? All right, thanks.
Yep. So for the school board report, the high school student council members collected 12 pints of blood when the blood drive was held on Tuesday, January 13th. The next blood drive should be scheduled for Tuesday, March 10th. Coming Home 2016 will take place next week. I provided a sheet to you guys of all of the activities. February 2nd through 7th, student council has designated dress up themes for each day of the week. The annual penny war began today and will continue throughout the end of the week. The event features a new name, Money Mayhem, and new rules due to the scarcity of the penny. Each class is currently creating class pride theme mini floats for the flow building competition. The annual Coming Home Pep Assembly will take place Friday, February 6th from 9 until 11 a.m. The crowning of the Coming Home King will take place in between the varsity basketball game on Friday, February 6th, roughly 7:15. Finally, the annual Coming Home Dance will take place on Saturday, February 7th from 7 until 10 in the high school gymnasium. Semester 2 is on its way. Students completed final exams January 15th and 16th. Semester 2 began last week. Students are acclimating themselves to their new classes and new classmates. National Honor Society, the members of the NHS provided a grilled cheese and tomato soup luncheon for staff members on Thursday, January 15th. The meal was appreciated and a tasty treat before an afternoon of exams and grading. Band boosters will be sponsoring a Dine and Donate fundraiser on Tuesday, February 10th from 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. at CJ Sports Grill. A portion of the sales earned that day will go to benefit the talented musicians. Band boosters will be sponsoring their trivia night on Saturday, March 14th at 7 p.m. in the middle school gym. Cost is $20 per participant with teams of up to 6 people. You can contact pennybandboosters@gmail.com to register your team. And lastly, esports. The Pinconning esports team had their winter organizational meeting last week. They're hoping to sponsor 3 teams in 3 different games: Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers, and Rocket League. Interested students should see Miss Weiner as soon as possible and inquire about team openings.
The administrative staff, I don't know. John, anything? Ron?
We have students of the month for high school. We have freshman Quentin Dubashare. He was nominated by Mr. Sheeran by being a leader in the health room. He's always kind, often goes out of his way to help struggling students. And he helped one student really get back on track, and I overheard him deliver some positive encouragement. Our sophomores, Ellie Schultz, and she was nominated by Mrs. Manor. Ellie stays on top of her classwork and does an excellent job on it despite being very involved with sports. She is kind, hardworking, has a great attitude, and works well with everyone. Our junior is Harley Bono, and she was nominated by Mr. Thomas. Harley is a great student who works hard and is a strong contributor in class, and she also takes the time to help her classmates whenever they need it. And our senior is Elizabeth Droptini, and she was nominated by Mrs. Callard. So that Elizabeth is always excited to come to band and is one of the hardest working students in the trumpet section. She absolutely loves playing our music and has even joined the pep band for the first time this year. Elizabeth is a joy to have as a student and band member. And our overall high school winner is Ellie Schultz. We started our new semester out, kind of good shakeups within the scheduling for students. Really positive feel to kick off the new year. Tell our teachers took finals and the students took finals very seriously. It was really stressful that week leading up to that, and I think students felt a relief. And I know looking at the test scores just coming out of that, kids did really, really well. I wanted to thank our NHS as well for providing lunch for our teachers and staff last week as well.
I have the December Students of the Month for middle school. Our 6th grade was Colton Murray, and he was nominated by Mr. Sheeran. He has a great effort and energy, sportsmanship, and is very positive in PE. His determination to work hard is what sets him apart. Allison Sajek is the 7th grade nominee, and she was nominated by Miss Milkowski. Allison sets high standards for herself academically in the classroom. She has tremendous work ethic and always strives to do her very best. Allison also serves as a contributing member of the student council and several sports teams. And Terry Albritton is the 8th grade nominee. He was nominated by Mrs. Kolka. And Terry has consistently participated in class discussions, has been respectful to me, his teacher, and his fellow classmates. He takes pride in the work that he does daily. And the overall middle school winner was Allison Sajek. And then our middle school PTO helped kick off this week with a great start. They spoiled our teachers with lots of different snacks, and Mrs. Jaime went around and delivered them today so that they could start their week off on a positive note.
Now the exciting part. Hunter?
Yes, well. Well, good evening, everyone. I'll try and keep this short and sweet. I don't want to bore everybody with all these numbers. So the budget amendment for January 2026. Next budget amendment will be the final one that'll come in June. Didn't know this was animated. It's nice looking. Yeah. So looking at a little historical information, so back when the budget was adopted in June, some of the assumptions that I found were that when it was made were the state budget was obviously not adopted in time. Enrollment, pupils were expected to be similar number as last year, and then the foundation allowance was estimated to be 4.1% at the time. That was actually more of a extreme look at the time, but if we look again, we'll see what actually happened is we had a 4.6% increase, which was not expected, but it was definitely beneficial for a lot of districts. However, our enrollment did decrease by 37 students compared to last year. And then our health insurance costs increased by 25%. To the next slide. Starting out with revenues. So if we look, we'll see that our originally adopted local is just above 2 million. It stayed relatively similar. We did increase our CHIP grants for fall. We saw typically about $50,000 allocated general fund for each semester. This year for the fall semester, we saw $90,000. We also increased for some bank interest, which is fairly common. Looking at state, like I mentioned, the foundation allowance increased by 4.6%. Retirement, we have some MIPSR changes. Last year, we had a MIPSR's one-time deposit, about $167,000. We didn't get that this year. We also saw various other things like 27L, which is our MIPSR's healthcare offsets, which we did receive this year, about $100,000. And then 27L2, which is educator compensation, which is about $160,000. We did not accept our 31A AA money, which this year would have been $170,000. Last year we received about $120,000, but we have carryover, fortunately, that we can use this year. Going back to the last slide, just really quick. Federal, there was about $70,000 of our Filter First grant. We've spent that much. We were allocated $137,000, but we finished up pretty much the majority of the district replacing these filters. And now we're just buying filters at this point. I can't imagine we'd spend $70,000 buying filters, but we can try. Title remained relatively similar between the years. In our district and other sources, GSRP, the GSRP budget got $20,000 additional compared to last year. We had about $50,000 of carryover to use this year, and we also received $30,000 additional of transportation. We also have $50,000 of special education flow through, which has been consistent, and then our interdistrict and other sources also include about $180,000 of our final reimbursements for the Sterling-based health center. So that's a lot of jargon for overall for our revenues for right now. Again, please stop me if anybody has any questions. I'm more than happy to go into detail on these. Now the big thing, expenditures. Overall, made adjustments for salary and benefits. Starting out with basic programs. We did have a handful of teachers that were capped out at their salary schedule retire in 24-25. And this is mainly to reflect that with the new teachers coming in, starting out at step one. Pupil, you'll see an increase. That's where we have our MTSS coordinator, as this is a new position. Added in some legal services expenditures for general administration. Operation and maintenance, we had increase in utility costs. Electricity has gone up on average about 7% across the state. And it has been prevalent this year, noticing that. Other support services, we had an increase there for the CHIP grants. We received, as mentioned, $50,000 to replace all the Chromebooks, as well as $10,000 to upgrade the computer lab. So that's where those expenditures are located. And then we didn't budget originally for capital outlay, but this is where I threw the 2 buses that we're purchasing for about $26,000. Had those final Sterling-based health center reimbursements, about $180,000. And then also we have, last year we got new copiers that we leased. There is a new standard. It's not really a new standard, but it got implemented because we haven't had leases. It's through the audit process. We just have to recognize principal and interest, and that's what that's for. So about $20,000 in there. So overall, originally we were looking at a surplus of about $92,000, so that's a gain to our fund balance. After we had also expected to have a beginning fund balance of $4.9 million, and this goes back to our audit results. We actually ended up with a fund balance of $5.2 million. After all of these amendments, we're looking at about a deficit of $177,000, or a decrease to our fund balance, which will bring us to $5 million of a general funding balance. And then we also have our 5% designation, which comes out to be $815,000, and then our COVID learning loss of $1.2 million. So realistically, we have undesignated general fund balance of $3 million. I wish I would have known that this presentation had effects on it. No, that's pretty much it. I guess current unknowns, so hard caps will be the big thing. I know there's HB 6058, which talked about moving the hard cap and putting everybody to an 80-20, so districts would have to pay 80% of all healthcare insurance costs. That's a big conversation point. And there's also the 27L4 and 27L2, as I mentioned. The real unknown is how we want to treat these stated categoricals. There's still a lot of discussions throughout the state, throughout the districts, on how we're actually going to divvy up the funds of sorts. But we have some time before it's actually required to be done. That's what I have.
Any questions? Good. All right. A couple of back here. With, well, reports from the board committees, we sat through this stuff. And, so on a consent agenda.
I make a motion to pay bills in the amount of $560,747.21.
Support.
Motion support, any discussion? Roll call?
Paul Gregorczyk is yes. Chris Radish?
Yes.
Leah Rulo?
Yes.
Bonnie Holstein?
Yes.
Katie Gregorczyk?
Yes.
And Brad Duke.
Yeah. Non-consent agenda. We had item A, 25-26 budget amendment. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it must not have been related. It shouldn't have been a second.
Yeah. We got the.
That's part of the consent agenda.
Yes.
Okay.
So you don't have to
We're all okay.
separately.
Sorry.
No, you're okay.
We're
You're
good.
testing my knowledge.
You're confusing me. Okay, back to the non-consent, 25-26 budget amendment.
I move to approve the 2025-2026 budget amendment as presented.
Support.
Motion support, any discussion? Roll call.
Chris Radish?
Yes.
And Bonnie Holstein?
Yes.
Leah Rulo?
Yes.
Paul Gregorczyk is yes. Katie Gregorczyk?
Yes.
And Brad Duke.
And then any public comment? Okay, any discussion items? I don't know when was gonna be in, before we got this on the board books, but.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait. Everybody good?
Then I just need one more motion then.
You adjourn.
Support, got a motion support, any discussion on that? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
You have your keys on there?
Yep. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I can find
Thank you, everyone. I'll do a game.
Mr. Cole,
Yeah.
if you go backward, there are doors, like,
I've seen it, please.
I told Jeremy, whatever, but I just want to make sure you know if you left.
And then I see it up higher, and I'm like,
Yep.
okay.
Well earned.
Yeah. Yes. We'll get it tomorrow.
Yeah, me too. That's why I'm flipping up my black.
No problem.
I felt bad, or not, I felt bad, but last time I showed up or whatever. I'm going down the driveway or whatever, I look in the rearview mirror, Bart's behind me, I'm like, oh, I was just like stopping on my way to the driveway. No, I'm like, I didn't even know until I got out of the car. She's behind me, I'm like,
Okay.
So, you know,
Where?
we need pictures.
is that your daughter that would have been there? Oh, she was all bundled up. She was walking.